to another episode of We Are Never Truly Alone. I am so happy to be here today. I am with my very good friends, Cody and Satori.
Hi.
You guys may know them as the Paranormal Couple. I know them as my very good friends that I feel like I have known you guys for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
Especially you, Cody.
Me, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a while.
It's been a long time. I first met Cody when you used to do a lot of things with Dustin Perry.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of the paranormal stuff. So we would do cases together and do events together. I remember we went to go see Chip Coffee together, all of this good stuff.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, I ended up meeting Satori.
Hi.
Satori, I've known your dad for ages too.
Yes.
And then you started coming around, and yeah, I remember. I think the first time I met you is it the Westerly Library? Is that what it's called?
Probably, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Because it was a TAPS home team case, and I think Tiffany was there one of
Really?
those nights. Yeah.
I
think the night
would
that
always
came,
convince my dad to go to
because
places.
she came with her family that night, didn't she?
Yeah.
So it was
I think
Westerly
that's when it
Library.
was, because I remember Christine and Joe were there,
Yes.
and
Yep.
yeah, that was the only time I went there, so that's
Yeah.
why.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure I was like, oh, hi.
Yeah, I would always be like, Dad, can I please just tag along even for a minute?
That was the first time I met Satori as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So if you guys are just tuning in, you guys know me as a spirit medium, but one of the first ways I got my start, and one of the things that I absolutely love doing, is that I love doing paranormal investigations and so forth. So way back when, that's when I ended up meeting you guys. So let me ask you the basic question.
Okay.
What got you guys into the paranormal? What?
My dad.
Yeah.
I don't have this crazy story of how I got into the field or anything like that. I really got into it because I saw my dad doing it. He was investigating before I was even born. And when Ghost Hunter started in 2004, I was very young. So I just saw my dad going to cases, and I was like, oh, he's helping people. I didn't think of the TV
And your dad
side of it.
I don't know if you mentioned who your dad is.
My dad is Jason Hawes, who founded TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, in 1990, and he's the head of the show Ghost Hunters. Okay. So I saw him going to work. I just knew he was helping people. I didn't think of any TV because I was very young. So I decided, I was like, I'm going to be like Dad when I grow up. And that never wore off. So I'm still trying to be like Dad, just kind of paving my own path on it.
Yeah, I grew up in a haunted house, as you know, and the things that happened in that house really blew open the door for the paranormal and wanting to learn more about everything. I remember the big experience that happened with me. I was around 8 or 9 years old, and I remember going to bed in my room and waking up in the middle of the night not feeling well, and going into my parents' bedroom and asking to spend the night in there. And I remember crawling in between my mom and dad and twisting and turning and trying to fall asleep. And eventually I opened my eyes to what looked like a bunch of men circling the bed. They were going through the wall on the left side of the headboard, kind of gliding around the bed, going through the wall on the right side of the headboard, and just kept floating around in a circle. Some were holding masks up to their face. They were all mumbling the same thing that I couldn't understand.
Were they solid figures?
They looked solid, except for a few of them. I remember clearly seeing, my parents had one of those big, blocky TVs, and I remember seeing the television through one of them when they went around the bed, and that always stuck with me. But it scared the heck out of me. I remember pulling the covers over my head. I tried waking my parents up. They wouldn't wake up, which scared me even more. And eventually they ended up going away, and I never saw those people again. But other people in my house started experiencing strange stuff. I lived on the second floor with my parents, an only child, and on the first floor was my grandparents, my mom's parents, and they were strict Catholics from Italy, and they did not really believe in the whole ghost thing. That was not a thing that you really talked about. And it wasn't until one day when they were babysitting me we heard what sounded like somebody breaking in on the second floor. And I remember my grandfather grabbing a bat and running up the stairs to confront whoever it was, and there was no one there. The doors were all still locked, and
Wow.
every boot steps, walking up and down the hallway, and there was no one there. And that, made them start scratching their head that maybe there is something strange going on. So that definitely blew the door open as far as, researching and trying to learn more. And I've never looked back ever since that experience.
And then to add to everything with you, Cody, you had a near-death experience.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with cancer in 2011, and of course there's a lot of complications that come with that. So in 2014, January 8th, I had to have an emergency surgery to remove my port. Usually most cancer patients have a port. I ended up getting a blood infection, so they had to remove the port. And they put me to sleep with a drug that I was allergic to that I had never had before. And so really long story shorter, the drug stopped my heart, and I had this miraculous experience where I remember feeling this pressure on my chest, and then everything turned black, and then I remember a flash, and the only way I can picture it is imagine your vision in the corner of the room, like on the ceiling, just looking down at everything that's happening. I remember seeing myself laying down on the stretcher. I remember seeing the doctors just doing whatever they were doing because they didn't realize anything was wrong yet. One of the doctors was showing his new BlackBerry phone that he had just got. A nurse was doing something with scissors. And then there's another flash, everything turns black. And I'm in like this void and trying to figure out, where am I? I've spent years trying to communicate with the other side, and now I feel like I'm on the other side and I don't know how to communicate with anybody. I don't see anything. And as soon as I thought that, there's another flash, everything turns completely white, and I see what looks like a family portrait of people gliding towards me on, like a conveyor belt. That's the only way the way they were moving towards me, all waving with their hand. And I remember trying to lift my hand to wave back, and I couldn't lift my hand up. And I said, sorry, I can't wave back. And as soon as I said that, they went backwards. Everything flashed again. Everything was black. I felt myself lying down and gliding back down diagonally until I hit the bed. And then I ended up waking up after that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was creepy.
And so how did you feel after that?
Definitely freaked out in the moment while it was happening. In that white area with the people coming at me, I was totally at peace and calm with everything. I was more freaked out once I woke up. And then finally I started talking about it. And the doctors would say, it's normal to have hallucinations when something like that happens.
Right.
And then it wasn't until I said, well, I remember seeing that you got a new BlackBerry phone. You pulled it out of your pocket. I saw that. And then he freaked out and backed out of the room, and I never saw that.
Oh my gosh.
So that freaked him out. And then my family has always been into Halloween and ghosts, and so they believed the story. And my mom would bring family photo albums into the hospital for me to look through to see if I recognized anybody, because most of the people I didn't recognize. And I remember seeing one woman. She was a little bit larger and had a dark dress with white polka dots on it. And I clearly remember her standing over to the left. And I was looking through the photo album, and I see a picture of her, but she was older in the picture. So I was like, yeah, I saw this woman. She was wearing a polka dot dress, dark color, and then my family freaks out. I'm like, oh, that's the dress. That's your great grandmother who passed away before I was even born.
Oh my gosh.
She was buried in a polka dot dress, a dark polka dot dress like that. So I definitely believe the people were past relatives and maybe guides and just kind of greeting you. And that's what I kind of envisioned for everybody when they pass now, is that you have this group of family members and guides, whatever you want to call them, that kind of meet you in the middle and then, take you over.
That's interesting too, because then that makes sense for like hospice patients and stuff as well. When they say they see people, like my grandparents said that they saw someone, at the end. So that makes sense. It does.
And even when I do my readings, same thing.
Sure.
They all just kind of say, so and so was meeting me when I crossed.
Yeah, well, we've gotten that too. We've gotten that too a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what, Ben?
Yeah.
I was gonna have switch it so you can see what we see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, switch the camera.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, whoops. Guys, okay, I'm gonna switch it. Uh-oh, whoops, I did the wrong button.
Try. Yep, there, flip, second one down. Try that.
Okay.
There you go. Ah.
Yay! Okay, is that better? Or what if you set it up on something? Would that help? I don't know.
No, it's all good. I got
That's
it.
good.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Yay! Because I just figured, I'm like, well, we can't even see it and we're talking, so I just figured.
Yeah.
So if you guys are just tuning into the podcast, my name is Tiffany Rice, and I have my good friends Cody and Satori, the Paranormal Couple, on, and we're also doing a live on TikTok. So we're just trying to get everything technically situated. So thank you for being patient with us. That is really such an amazing story, though, because I know I actually just did a gallery reading and somebody asked me if I had any near-death experiences and or from what I knew about it, and you were the first person to come to mind because we did do something on my YouTube channel a few years ago. And you came to the house and we talked about the near-death experience. Geez, So if you guys want to learn more about that, you can go to my YouTube? Is it YouTube?
Yeah, you.
YouTube, Spirit Tiff, and then obviously their YouTube.
Try that again.
I'm talking fast. Their YouTube channel, Cody and Satori, the Paranormal Couple. Make sure you subscribe because they have so many amazing things that we're going to talk about right now. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on these two because I know you guys, especially everybody that has been coming up in the last year or so, have known you from the Conjuring House, which you guys were caretakers of.
Yes.
And you were there. How long were you there for? A couple years?
2 years.
Working there 2 years, involved with the house since the Heinzens in 2019. So
Yes.
But working there while living there for 2 years. Yeah.
What was that like from a paranormal standpoint? Like how you guys spent the night there? You guys spent the night there alone. I'm sure there was tons of people there all the time, but what was it like being at the Conjuring House, which is, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Conjuring House, it was, it's a house that is considered one of the most haunted locations in the world, right? And also there was a movie put out in 2013 called The Conjuring about the Perron family that had a lot of paranormal experiences. So you guys are at the real Conjuring House in Burrowville, Rhode Island, and you guys are now the caretaker. I used to do events there, but I was only there for a couple hours a night here and there.
Yeah.
So my experience has been totally different than your experience. So do you have a particular paranormal experience where you're like, what the actual, what?
Well, first, it's definitely the most famous haunted house in the world. It's definitely haunted. Being there 1 to 2 weeks out of every month was definitely interesting because you were constantly around activity, it made it a really interesting location for that aspect. But there's a lot that the movies have said or have shown that's not accurate. It's a haunted house. It's just not as evil as the movies had portrayed it.
Yeah, and living there, Satori and I would live there usually 2 weeks out of the month, so 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And I remember when we first started, our first week on, it was 1 week that we stayed there, and it was almost like the spirits were checking us out and trying to figure out, what we were doing. And there was a big experience that happened, on I believe our first night sleeping there, and we were getting ready for bed. No one had rented the house that night, so we're just settling in. It's already kind of creepy
Oh my
because we're the
gosh.
only ones on the property.
I know what you're talking about.
And all of a sudden, we start to lay down, and we hear what sounds like a drumming. Boom, 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 boom. And was
It sounds like it's
what?
far away.
Yeah, it's far away.
Like outside or in the
Outside.
house?
Yeah,
Okay,
this
outside.
was late.
And if you guys, just real quick, outside is like 8 acres of land. So there's a lot of land.
Oh, and then
a
there's
lot
the
of-
woods.
And the woods, yeah,
Yeah.
and then the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sounds like it's outside, and we're like, I'm like, Tor, what the heck is that? And it's getting closer, and then all of a sudden, so the Conjuring House is very well secured. There's motion, sensors that are hooked up to
Like
the security
30 something
system,
cameras.
and a motion thing starts to go off on one of the paths coming up towards the house, and it's getting louder and louder, and then another motion thing goes off, and we're like, oh my gosh, this thing is coming, whatever it is coming towards the house. And then it sounds like it gets right to the door, and then all of the power goes out in the house.
And at this point, I'm like crying. Like I'm like, should we call the owner? Like I'm telling Cody, I'm like, don't open the door, lock everything, stay
Right,
here.
right.
Like, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So all of the breakers had flipped for some weird reason, and as soon as the power went out, the drumming stopped.
Stop it!
It stopped.
That
stopped
is
completely.
crazy.
Totally, probably one of the freakiest experiences we've ever had anywhere.
But then to make it creepier, he looks at me and goes, okay, I'm gonna have to go down to the basement and get the power back on. He goes, I'm just gonna have to talk to myself because I don't want to hear anything. And I'm already alone. This already happened. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you're gonna hear something in the basement? And he left me to go to the basement by himself to go like flip the breaker or whatever to get it back
and,
on.
we didn't experience anything else that night, but it was almost like that first week the spirits were kind of getting used to us. And
Right.
then they would kind of help us out, from time to time. Of course, there's a lot of rules at most haunted locations.
Right.
When you rent a location, at least with the Conjuring House, no open flames because, it's a really old location and you don't want it to burn down. Different things like that. So
Right.
we'd be laying down for bed and then we'd hear a knock on the wall. Like boom, 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 boom.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
what is that? And thinking it's the people, we pull up the cameras and there's nobody in that room. But then we notice that the people that rented the house are breaking one of the rules. They have an open flame or they lit a candle. So it's almost like the spirits were warning us that something is going on and you should look at it. And that happened, like 3 times?
Oh, yeah.
I would say. And every time we would hear that knock, we'd look at the cameras and something would be going on that they're not supposed to be doing.
Wow.
They're amazing people. The spirits there, they're amazing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So Satori and I, we resigned back in April of this year. Probably the biggest thing that we miss is just the house and the spirits of the house because at least, with Satori and I, what we do with our communication method, we really got to learn a lot about these people and you learned that, Hollywood definitely tells some really great stories. But the true story, these are people's lives. They lived in that house. They died in that house. And they have so many stories and memories. Talking to Abigail Arnold about the things she would bake in the oven there, bread and biscuit recipes and
Which we have.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, so just learning about these people is definitely something that we'll always remember and keep close to us. Probably the best part of working at that place.
I know for me, there was one particular, I actually posted it on my TikTok, that I was in the kitchen and there was the light that would flicker a little bit. So whenever time I would ask a question, it would respond and it seemed to be so on point, like with whatever I was asking. And my friend Sarah was with me and so she was recording and I'm like, hello, come to the light, Caroline, but I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so amazing. But I never got spooked out being there. And I know we used to have holiday parties there and that was so magical.
Oh, yeah.
And like just being on that property, it really is a gorgeous property. So, I do have to agree with you guys with the spirits because I would get asked that. They're like, did anything happen to you? Or people that would come to my gallery readings, they'd be like locked and loaded with black tourmaline. And so I was like, oh, it was just, it's funny that, what people think is going to happen.
Yes, I can't tell you how many people would show up and be like, am I going to get possessed? And we're like, no,
Yes.
it's just a tour. Like I would actually, some people I would be like practically holding their hands on the tour because they were so scared of what they heard.
Yeah.
And so when they came and they heard the actual story and we broke down all the myths and told you the facts and it's like they left there, they're like, why was I so scared?
Right.
So
it's that hype, it's that hype. And so like, that's a whole other thing too. Like, was there anything, I know you said some people like lit candles or like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there was probably drinking or drugs or something, but was there any particular story that you guys remember of a visitor where you're like, oh my gosh, like what is going on?
I remember a guy showed up on a tour, okay, and he was from like, I think like New York or New Jersey. He had that big personality.
Yeah,
And he was a very big skeptic, and that's fine. I love skeptics in this field. Like whether you believe or don't believe, great. So we're doing the tour, and what's cool about the tour is when we would give it, we would appeal to both people that believed and people that didn't believe.
Right,
so
right.
He was like, I want something to happen. That would make me believe, but I don't think it's gonna happen. He had that kind of energy. We're like, okay, like we can't promise anything's gonna
Story
happen.
of my life.
Yeah.
I
So
get it.
we bring him on the tour and nothing's happening, but he's having a good time learning about the house and
Yeah.
the architecture and all that. And then we get to upstairs Andrea's room,
Yeah.
right above like the parlor. And as we're there, we open that little closet door to that space, and we end the tour and we leave everything open and we let them wander for about 15-20 minutes. And all of a sudden you just hear somebody yell, and he ran down the stairs and left the house.
Oh my gosh.
And he later, I was able to get it out of him. He was like, somebody told me in my ear to get out. And he goes, I listened to them. And he would not go back in there. But it was the experience, and you could see it in his eyes that he's like, I believe now. And it was just one of those like, we told you. Like, we
the
told
aha
you.
moment.
But we weren't going to force you to believe. Obviously,
Right.
we don't want to force anybody to believe, but when you have those genuine experiences and you just see kind of like the mix of fear, but also excitement
Oh, I
and
love it.
interest, that was the coolest thing for me, to watch him have that experience there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been so many experiences where people come in as a skeptic and then leave as a total believer.
Yeah.
We used to do, usually it was like every Wednesday there would be like a mini investigation that, whoever was caretaking would lead that. And there would be, in Henry's area upstairs, there'd be cars, little toy cars, rolling off tables by themselves,
Wow.
and balls rolling away, and all different things. I mean, in the chimney closet, there would be little toys that move around from time to time, and just stuff like that, little things like that would turn, the biggest non-believer into somebody that was full on wanting to learn more about this stuff
And
by the end of the night.
There was people that didn't have experiences, but it still interested them, and
Yeah.
that was the cool part as well. Like, they still didn't believe, but it was still a part where it's like, okay, I had a fun time. And I think that's what we miss about working there. Maybe if ownership changes, we would love to go
Yeah.
back, but we can't right now.
Well, I would say, there is a possibility that that would happen.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you must be psychic, because I was going to ask you, what do you miss? What's your key takeaway from being at the Conjuring House?
Interacting with the people, whether they believed in the paranormal or not, and also just, I guess, taking care of the spirits and taking care of the house, like everything we did when people weren't even around. I miss mopping the floors
I know.
and cleaning the windows and things
Like the
that.
routine of it all.
Yes, I miss that.
It was so structured. I get it, because I used to do events there pretty much every month there, and it was
Yeah.
like you guys were always there.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Like for the Christmas parties, we go out and collect pine cones. Like we'd go to
Yes.
the woods. Like I miss going out and collecting the pine cones for the centerpieces and like all the fun
That
stuff.
was so fun. So, we used to have these big Christmas parties every year, and we'd light the fire in the Conjuring House, and then we'd also the table was set up. The first time we had what was it?
Pheasant.
It's pheasant.
Pheasant. I always say we had peasant, and they're like, no, it's pheasant. It's pheasant. I'm like, oh, the peasants were spared. But we always had such a good time.
Yes.
And here's another thing too that I want to bring up, is that during the whole Conjuring experience, is that she brought in, when I say she, I say the owner, she brought in people, of anybody who wanted to rent, and there were people that were influencers and YouTubers and so forth. And so I know I was part of the Stokes twins came,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
they were curious to see what I could do and so forth. And then we have the infamous Sam and Colby that you guys are still friends with and you guys still talk to. And I think it's great that you continue to have a positive relationship with them.
Yeah.
It gives people a better understanding of who you are and who you are as individuals, that you guys are both genuine and authentic. And I know, Cody, you just mentioned while you were talking, you talked about a form of communication.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you guys don't know, Cody and Satori have a very, very special connection with spirit. And I know I consider myself a spirit medium because I connect to loved ones in spirit. Would you guys consider yourself mediums as well?
I don't know.
It's different. I mean, I guess it would be a form of physical mediumship. I mean, we don't sense anything in our heads.
Like,
see
I can't
things or
get
hear
it.
anything. So
Yeah.
we're not, clairaudient or, anything like that. Whatever, we hear, whoever's in the room would hear as well.
We're creating some sort of physical reaction being around each other that's amplified. Can we make weird things happen by ourselves? I think so. And I think when we come together, it amplifies whatever we already have
almost
separately.
Like a conduit, I guess.
Yeah. And we're trying to find somebody, which we're in talks with some people who want to see if there's a scientific reason behind it before, just saying we don't know.
Yeah, not trying to prove that, ghosts exist or not, but hook something up to us to see if there's some sort of reaction that happens as soon as we hold each other's hand.
Or even just in the vicinity.
So I want to explain to people, because I know we know what you guys do, but some people, some new listeners may not know anything, they may not know anything. So Cody and Satori, we talk about mediumship and connecting to the other side. And I'm going to ask you the very first time you guys realized this, but just to give you guys an idea of what they do is that they hold each other's hands and they connect to a higher source. And what they do is they ask questions, and that higher source connects with them through a tapping. And I have been doing this for many years as well, but there is that healthy skepticism of me. And I remember the first time I saw you guys do it, I think it was at the Mason's Lodge, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Mason's Lodge, right? So we were on the first floor at the time in the Mason's Lodge, so it was all cement underneath us. And they were asking questions, and there were people that were part of the Mason's Lodge from years ago answering, and we had somebody on staff that was able to give us the facts. And there was actually even, I think we found like a little prayer card of somebody and forth, because I was the one to run over, because they were like, okay, can you tell us your name? And they would spell out their name and so forth. And so I thought, this was amazing, this is so cool. So then we go to another area of the building, same night, we go into another area of the building, and I wanted to get in on it because I needed to be part of it. And when I was holding both of their hands, it worked. And I'm like, this is amazing. But then when I tried to do it alone or with one of you, it didn't really work. So it had to be the three of us. It had to be Cody and Satori together. Now, here's the interesting part. When we were doing this, one of my friends who passed away came through. And if you guys, since you do listen to my podcast, Lee McGuire, she was on my podcast few episodes ago. It was her husband, Brendan, that came through. Now, these two know nothing. It's a different friend group. They know nothing about Brendan. They didn't even know anything about his situation or anything. And there was so much information that was provided that was factual, that there is no question in my mind that it was Brendan that was connecting with us. So if you guys can get that visual, they stand next to each other and they hold each other's hands, and you get the tapping on the floor. You can actually feel the vibration on the floor. It doesn't matter where you are, you will feel a vibration. It's absolutely the most amazing and insane thing all at once. So how did you guys figure this out? Like what made you think like, hey, let's hold hands and see what happens?
Well, it wasn't that simple, figuring it out. Well, as far as we knew, we would always say it happened when we first met, okay? Because when we first met, we went on a investigation together at the Primitive Crow in Connecticut. So that was the first place we met, and I was laughing about something. I believe I grabbed your shoulder, or I brushed up against your shoulder, and it just sounded like noises everywhere. It wasn't right in front of us. and we were like, wow, this location's really active.
Yeah.
Like, this is sick.
Something that you've known all along.
Yeah, and we were getting responses. We weren't touching each other. The location, was getting responses. And it took us a while to figure out it's when we're together. And then after a while, like, people on the TAPS home team were like, maybe you guys should go off and try your own thing. And it took us months to figure out, okay, it's louder when we touch. It's, it can still happen if we look at each other hard enough. Like, things like that. Can we spell words? There was one night where I said, if I go through the alphabet, can you spell? Kind of like a human Ouija board. Mm-hmm. And the first thing we ever spelled out was like, how is this happening? Or how is this possible? And I remember us just going, well, we thought you would know,
Yeah, yeah.
So from there, we kind of worked with it. But we think that activity has stemmed from us both even before we met. I mean, if you look back years ago when Cody was first diagnosed and having his earlier near-death experiences, he was getting strange noises that nobody on the teams were correlating with him. And my family will tell you stories about weird things I was experiencing.
Yes,
and
love this.
when we met, now it's like, okay, we're just meshing these things together.
Right. Yeah.
So-
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I had a lot of strange experiences. Looking back, that were similar. You had knocking and footsteps and all different things like that. And knock once for yes, twice for no. But in the moment while it's happening, you don't think, well, maybe you're a part of this. Maybe you're energetically fueling whatever's happening in the room. But once I met Satori, it took all of that to a completely different level of communication that neither of us had ever experienced before on that level,
Yeah.
which was amazing.
And that's not to say it's just us that would make that reaction. Maybe Cody will find somebody else that can make that happen as well too. Maybe I'll find somebody that can make something weird happen. We think some sort of energies connect and create this like circuit.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gathering on it in a scientific way.
It's very similar to the spiritualist movement. With old seances, everyone would hold hands around the table to combine energy. So I think there's definitely something to that, combining energy to further the door opening to communicate.
I think what sold it for me when we first experienced it, because my brain was like, come on, like we're being pranked. I remember we thought that this
Yeah,
was
we were
like
looking at
something.
It's like so
big.
bizarre. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I get excited talking about it, because again, like I love you guys, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna, like, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna see what this is all about.
Yeah.
And then when it started to happen, I'm like, stop it.
No, yeah.
And I touched the ground, and you can feel the vibration wherever you go. Like, it's not just stand in this circle and that's where we know. It's like, no, you could be anywhere and you hear, it sounds like that.
Yeah, it's weird. And we were like, nobody's gonna believe this. Like, are you kidding?
Right.
Two people holding hands, getting knocking noises. That sounds like a really bad romantic movie. But
That's actually a great rom-com. I think. I don't know.
There's a lot of comedy in it. So, but what really sold it for me was, like you were saying, it's not just in the circle of us. Like, when you're in the room, when we first started doing it, you hear it across the room. You'll hear it on a window. You'll hear it on the ceiling. And that's the creepy part, because there are people that can attest that they're standing across the room and somebody walked by them. And that's the stuff that freaks me out. But I love it. It's like an excitement freak out.
But I'm going to tell you guys, it's just like readings too, because so many times, like my friend Sarah, I always call her my pimp, because she's the first one to be like, and you guys know Sarah personally too, and she's, when she loves you so hard, and she just wants the best for everyone. So she's like, oh my gosh, who wants a reading? Who wants a reading? Like, you have to get a reading from Tiff. And she's like, I just want them to experience the magic. And that's how I feel for you guys. Like, just being like, I just want you guys to experience the magic, and like, don't knock it until you try it. Like, just be open enough to understand, like, at the end of the day, we're all energy. We're just in skin coats anyways.
That's right.
We're just in skin coats. So like, when we pass, we continue on. Our essence continues on. We don't end, right? And so you guys that are watching, especially my TikTok fam, like, I know there's a huge collective of my fan base that like loves and supports everything that you guys do. And there's whatever, this is what makes the world goes round, There's people that are gonna love it. There's gonna be people that are just gonna hate it. Yeah, it's controversial.
We're controversial. We get it.
Yeah, it's the same. I get it. But it's just, I just want to give you guys a pat on the back on like such an amazing job that you're doing. And I know that you guys have like especially in the past year have exploded because you have been put out there, and like whether it was targeted or whether it was, you know, shown in all good light, but like it gave you that voice and to actually help educate people on what it is that you're doing, because you guys are still trying to figure it out yourself.
We are still trying to figure it out ourselves, and obviously everybody's opinion is completely valid, especially if you're not there and you're just seeing what's being presented on a screen, especially on the internet. Like you can't believe many things on the internet, so we completely understand that. It's just one of those things you have to see yourself, and we respect it. There is misinformation out there. We're not here to correct it. That's not our job. We're just gonna keep doing what we're doing. I mean, like for example, that we're taking money for sessions, which we're not doing. We don't take money from the people we help. We don't do sessions.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, they don't like.
It's like in the moment.
Yeah.
It's organic, you know, that's why we can't guarantee something's going to happen. So like we won't take money from those people because we can't promise anything's going to happen. We're still figuring this out ourselves.
Right.
So it's like we want to kind of correct those things, but we're not here to fight with anybody about it. We make money in the paranormal field. We do conventions and museum stuff and all that. So like we're here to slowly, as we go along, correct those things, you know?
And figure it out, you know? And I'm going to just bring up because people will talk to me about charging for my service.
And that's okay. That's what, everybody's different.
Well, no, but I was just going to say too, is like, the way I look at it is people say, well, why do you charge? And I'm like, have you ever been to a ballet or a musical or a concert? And chances are they'll say yes. And I'll say, okay, so they are providing a service. They're providing you that entertainment, that living your life experience, right? And they say yes, and I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing.
And that's
you know?
okay.
And, oh no, I know.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But I'm just saying exactly like. So I wish everybody just had a little bit of an open mind. We can't change them, but I just wish that people would understand life a little bit in a couple different depths rather than just the surface. You know, they'll get there when they get there. But, you know, one thing that I'm going to also mention, and you just brought up because I wanted to tell people about your haunted museum.
Yes.
Like, okay, so then that was even before the tapping, right?
Well, that was before publicly telling people.
Yes, So before the tapping, and I remember we did a convention together a few years ago, and I know that you guys were like collecting stuff and so forth, and then I rolled up, and right next to me was the Paranormal Haunted Museum on wheels, and it was this like you guys have a big bus, so to speak, and it's all decorated, and then inside is where people can go in and tour, or you can bring the stuff out.
We bring the stuff in.
Stuff out. So wait a minute. Tell me about this is so amazing. Tell me about the artifacts, or what made you guys think like, hey, we should put this on wheels and let's go with it. So like.
So, of course, we have a lot of mentors when it comes to haunted objects. John Zaffis and Reverend Tim Shaw up in New York. And, of course, the Warrens, great friends at the Warren Museum. And the whole collecting thing kind of started by accident. I'd be out on a taps case, and we'd come across a case once in a while that had an object that, you know, we believed was the catalyst of the haunting. And the family obviously didn't want it, and none of the other taps people really wanted it either. So I was like, oh, well, I'll take it, and, you know, just, you know, kind of experiment with it. So I brought one thing home, and that slowly grew into, you know, like 10 or 12 things. And
wait, I have to stop you though. So you brought things home, and at the time you're living with your parents. So where would you put them?
So
under your bed? This is like what nightmares are made of, by the way. Like I put them all under my bed.
Yeah, either in my room or in the basement, in my office area. And you know, sorry to interrupt one more time, because now I'm like, wait a minute. Because all I'm thinking of is the clown in Poltergeist, where it's sitting in the chair. However, I want to know, like, if you kept them, were they like tucked away in like a sneaker box where it's like they can't get out?
Well, when we started getting a lot of stuff and we had to make room for it, and we would put it in like an outbuilding and an office space.
Right.
Okay, because that was my main concern. Because I'm like, are you just throwing these dolls under your bed, or like these?
Well, maybe
masks?
when he started out, maybe.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, they're just like free to roam the house. Okay.
There was a doll. One of the first dolls we ended up getting. Christine Downs, Joe and Christine, she recommended, you need to, bind this thing and put it in salt. So
This
so
was
we
before
talked
you
to-
and I met, I think.
Yeah, this is before, Satori. And so the things that I had were, binded and protected in that way. And then that's really before I started, getting my own beliefs on what you should do with these things. I was just basing what I should do off of what other people think that they should do. And after talking to a bunch of people, we've kind of established our own way of doing things. We aren't scared of our items. I don't think you can collect stuff if you're going to be scared or worried that something that you have is going to take over you or be stronger than you are. You have to be definitely strong in your beliefs, whatever that is. But the way we go about presenting these things now and storing them is completely different than when I first started.
I can picture you like with like a little clown, like,
Yeah.
under the bed, just throw it under the bed. That's why I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting
So-
anxious hearing this story.
So we have spaces away from our direct living space that we have the items in now. We're looking for a set location where it's completely off our properties.
My
that we can
basement.
have
No,
that.
just kidding.
But now we have
she
over
shed.
500 items.
Wait, what?
Over 500. We lost count around there.
Wait, okay, there's a lot to unpack here.
There's
literally,
a lot.
Literally.
There's a lot.
But wait, okay, sorry.
No, yeah,
I just
it's
have so many
fine.
questions.
We keep them
Okay.
away from our living space. We're very protected. We've never had anything happen outside of the museum where they're currently housed until we can get them into a location. So that's pretty much where it is now. It's growing.
So what, and for both of you, so there was, okay, so I don't know, I don't know if you made the video public.
The doll?
That video, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think it's somewhere.
I don't know if
online.
it's public, but we have it.
I think it's online. We can make it public though.
Oh, well, we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah,
No, you
it's
can
fine.
talk about
Never
it.
mind.
We show people at
It's on-
conventions.
yeah, it's on
Yeah,
our
okay, all
exhibit
right.
thing, so,
Because
yeah.
I was going to bring that
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, but and then I just have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was at a convention with them. It's the same convention when I noticed that they like. I heard that they were doing it, and then when I saw the van, it just made it legit. Like, oh man, they went big. Like, go big or go home. I'm like, all right, so this is a real thing. And they had set everything up, and I think it might have been Steve that brought it over to me. And one of our friends, Steve, came over, and he was like, Tiff, check this out. So he shows me, because you guys have video camera at the time. Again, I know things are different now, but there was video cameras on your
Objects, yeah.
on your objects.
Yeah.
And it was happening in the middle of the night. There was nobody around or anything like that.
No, yeah.
And there was this little clown baby. Was it? just a
I
little-
think that one was, I think, just like a Victorian porcelain.
Oh, we're talking about Liza?
I think it's
the
not
Victorian
Liza, yeah.
porcelain.
The one that
Okay.
lifts
Yeah.
up? Is that what you're talking
The one
about?
that
Yes.
sits up?
The arm?
Yeah.
That's Liza.
Yes. So Liza. So Liza, I was looking at the doll, and he's like, "Just keep looking at the doll." And I'm like, "Okay." And like at one point, you could see the doll just sitting there like this, and then all of a sudden, it's like.
Like Toy
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah.
She just sits herself up. Yep.
Straight up, and it's not a dog. It's not a doll that you can like
No, don't
pull
move,
back
no.
and it moves or anything like that. It didn't get caught on anything. What's her story?
So Liza came to us, this was before Cody and I had actually like made a museum. She had called, you had gotten a call from somebody.
Yeah, I had done a podcast or some radio interview the night before, and I mentioned that I had a couple things. I mean, we didn't really have a lot of stuff, and the point wasn't to grow, the biggest collection or anything like that. It was just to help people, and I remember I must have said during the podcast, yeah, if anyone, has, any trouble or has an object that they want, advice about, feel free to, reach out. So I got this email saying, call me please, I have this thing. So I called, and then instead of saying hello, the phone picks up, I'm like, hello, and all I hear is, make it stop, please make it stop, make it stop.
Oh
And
my
I'm like-
gosh.
I'm like, oh wait, what's going on? So I first thought that the guy was just living in a haunted house. He was experiencing stuff, and then finally we got out of him that he's talking about this doll, and he wouldn't say where he got the doll from, which was a big red flag, for us.
I know red flags well.
Yeah.
I collect them. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So he wouldn't tell us where it was from, and he said that the doll was telling him to do bad things to himself and to other people.
Oh, wow.
So right away, our mind goes away from paranormal and into the psychological part of this, that maybe this gentleman is suffering from something other than ghosts. So we had a psychologist friend give him a very quick cursory analysis, asked him a couple questions just to see where he was at mentally, and she said he checked out over the phone, that he seemed like a normal person that was just going through something with this thing. And so our next question was, how come you didn't try to throw it out, get rid of it? And he goes, I did. I threw it away in the complex dumpster, and then I wake up the next morning and go outside and the thing is sitting on my front step.
Stop.
So either the doll somehow paranormally got to his front step, or the trash man came and was like, oh, this is strange, and put it back
I'm
on.
thinking it's the trash man.
Yeah, but somehow this thing ended up back in his life again. And so he goes, I need this thing gone. So I ended up meeting with him in a public spot. He passed the doll over, didn't say much after that, and just left. And he kind of dropped off the face of the earth for a while after that. We checked in with him once. He says, oh yeah, I'm doing good now. I'm starting to, get my life back together. And then disappeared again and haven't heard from him since. But that doll is probably one of the most active as far as moving.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We have to put her on a shelf, and this sounds really funny because usually we have things
Right.
under cases or in sections. We put her in a doll section, and we noticed that all the dolls' heads would spin, or the dolls would spin, or there would be dolls on the floor somehow. And by the third time, we were like, okay, it has to be her. So we picked her up and we put her on a shelf in a completely different area by our office chairs. And now she just, nothing happens that's negative or anything like that. She'll just pick herself up and move around. You'll hear voices, things like that. Things will be rearranged, but it's nothing that's as intense as when we first brought her in.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's a fan favorite.
Is there one that you guys, is there another object where either Satori, you're like, I don't want anything to do with that? Or Cody, is there one, do either you guys have one where you're like, I'm solid?
There's nothing that we didn't want. It's not that, so we don't take things permanently. We're known as a foster home because people can donate their item and have it back if they ever want it back. So we don't keep it permanently unless they want us to. So there was nothing that we ever said no to, but we've gotten some pretty strange stuff that kind of makes us uncomfortable. We have a dark room, so that's all some of the worst, items from cults, mass death situations, all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Some of those things I don't really want to be around or touch very much. That's why we lock them away. So those things kind of make me uneasy.
The things that make me uneasy is the things that we don't. Good?
Oh yeah, sorry, no. Olive.
What's she doing? Let her out, yeah.
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just for a second. Just because I feel like she's. Oh wait, hold on, guys.
Go down here and click. Where'd it go? What'd you do? I don't know what happened.
Mirror your video? No.
No. I don't know what happened. How do you switch it over? Do you just go, oh no, you liked it. You liked your own.
That's
How'd you
okay.
do that?
No, that's usually what you do. We can wait. I just needed to. Activities.
I don't know how you did it, Tiff.
It's okay. We can wait.
We can just hold it
We can
funny.
hold it. Yeah. I love it. Okay, we can hold it right like this. They can wait.
They can wait.
Sorry.
Any questions? We didn't do anybody wrong. We're just doing us, but entitled to your opinion. All the love to you.
Yeah.
People can theorize what we've,
go, Ben.
how we
Sorry.
do things. That doesn't mean it's true.
We didn't know how to turn it.
Okay.
But, okay. Game on with the podcast.
All right.
Good.
Here we go.
Sorry. Sorry. I was just worried because I figured, because she was panicked. Okay. Sorry.
No problem.
So, I'm trying to think what's the last thing. Oh, so I think the creepiest things that kind of freak me out is the things that we're not expecting to get, the things that just kind of show up. Like we recently, about a year ago now, we had a big box show up, and we opened it up, and there was 3 dolls inside of it, and with a little note that said, "Good luck, your problem now." And we
Oh God.
Covered in dirt.
the address. All the dolls were covered in dirt, like they had been buried and then dug back up again and then sent to us. So stuff like that creeps you out when you don't have a full backstory on where it came from or who it came from
Or what it
how
does.
how they got the address to send you the thing. So
Right.
so yeah, that stuff's a little freaky.
And do you sage them before they?
We do different things.
Okay.
So Cody was brought up Catholic, so he kind of takes a more Catholic approach. I'm more spiritual based, so I'll do, we'll do this, we'll do like certain things like that, lavender, different herbs, crystals. So we kind of surround the space with that as we go. And if somebody has another religious belief system and they want to kind of contribute that to the museum, we don't think it hurts. We think it's all intention,
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's what we do.
So I just think it's like absolutely like you guys are so busy with everything that you have going on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say like what's next? What's next for Cody and Satori? Like excuse me, you had your YouTube channel, but then you just kind of like gave it rebirth, right? Or did you just start it?
Yeah, after we there was a period where we blew up online and we were getting good and bad, and it was just so intense on both ends.
We both have creative careers, so people get nervous around that.
So we just kind of were like, we're not going to do this anymore. That's not what we want to do. And then we were like, well, we're investigating anyway. We're traveling and doing fun things anyway. Why not, I guess, if we're going to post videos because people want to see what we're doing, might as well use our YouTube channel. So we, in the last couple months, really started to push videos. There's videos on there of like us doing what we do barefoot without our feet on the ground, like fun things like that.
Oh yeah, I was like, wait.
Yeah, our method without
stuff. I'm like,
without, because a lot of people were like, can we see it without shoes on? Can we see it without you touching the ground?
Okay.
Our method. So we did those videos. Now we're doing travel vlogs, investigations, all stuff like that. So that's kind of what we're doing with it right now.
Yeah, we usually post a video every Tuesday. The most recent video, we filmed an investigation at Rolling Hills Asylum in New York. So that came out yesterday. And then for the month of October, starting next Thursday, we're going to be uploading twice a week, so Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to be going to a lot of haunted attractions, so the fake haunted houses. So we've been invited in by a few different ones to kind of film our reactions going through them, which will be, I think, a little entertaining.
That's so fun!
So that'll be like the Thursday videos, and then Tuesday will be our regular vlog / investigation stuff. So we've been having fun with that, and then at the end of the month, Satori and I are doing our first ever stage show on October 26th with Haunted Objects.
Yeah, Middleborough, Massachusetts. Get your tickets. Are there still tickets available? Do you know?
I want, but there's very few, if any.
If you email Birtwood School do you know the email?
I don't, but if you go to our
Alley Theater.
Yeah, go to the Alley Theater on Facebook or Paranormal Couples Haunted Museum on Facebook. There's a couple posts that say the email.
Yeah, you'll get a table. We will surround you with haunted objects. We'll tell you the stories of some of our historical objects. So we're excited for that. Our YouTube is the Cody and Satori, the Paranormal Couple.
Yep, or at Cody and Satori. If you just search the @ symbol, Cody and Satori. And then we'll be at a bunch of different conventions coming up. We have New Jersey Para-Unity Expo coming up in November.
That's the first weekend in November.
Yeah.
People can talk to you and see some paranormal stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be in a room with, I think, John Zaffis and the Creeper Gallery. So it's going to be full of haunted objects.
I love this.
It's going to be super cool. I think that's announced, right? Hopefully
it is.
Hopefully it is.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yep. So, and then I think we have an event in Gettysburg coming up in December.
I've always wanted to go there.
Yep. So a few different things. So if you follow us on social media, we always post where we're going to go next and what you can get tickets for and stuff like that. So yeah, we're trying to keep busy.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what it is. It's like always evolving. Like I know with myself, I'm always doing private readings, and now I'm doing, like, obviously I've been doing gallery readings too, but I'm like, okay, but what else can I do? Like, what else? Like, I created the podcast. I love having the podcast be almost like spiritually based to get people, get them in to have some knowledge of what's going on. And then, I have the Kindle on, I have this and that, which brings me up to your line. You have an Etsy shop.
I
Now, what is
do.
it that you do? What is it that you do?
So I have an Etsy shop with my mom. My mom is my business partner. And what we do is I supply crystals, and my mom will make hand wire wrapped crystal jewelry. So she'll take a crystal and she'll make a completely unique piece.
Are you wearing anything?
I'm wearing a protection bottle that I make. I make protection
She's
bottles.
like, I'm going to Tiff's. I need that.
I'm sorry, I sneezed.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So yes.
Bless you, child.
Thank
Bless
you.
you.
I will also make crystal bracelets by hand, protection bottle necklaces, things like that. So it's called Handmade by Hawes on Etsy.
Oh, I love it.
You can go check it out. We do all sorts of fun stuff. And I think we're working on like making merch and stuff to put on there as well.
Yeah.
We're in talks about it. I don't know if we're going to do it,
We'll see what happens.
but it'll be like a fun line on Etsy. So
I'm going to give this to you. It's a
Aw.
Spirit Aura Quartz.
thank you for me.
For you.
Thank
It's like,
you.
you're welcome.
I appreciate that. Oh, it's so sparkly. Look
Wow.
at you.
It's just a little baby, so you have to. But here's the thing with Spirit Aura Quartz is like it tends to be more rare than like an
Never seen
amethyst
that.
or anything like
I don't
that.
have any, so I have a lot of crystals, but I don't have any.
Well,
of
when I was
this.
showing you my collection, because I'm a nerd with all of my crystals, and you guys, especially my TikTok family, you guys know I'm always like, look at this crystal, look at this crystal. So when you have a friend that you don't see often and she comes to your house, like I was like, and then I have this one, hold it, touch it.
I was
Here you
holding
go.
all of them, yes.
And then I have this big Spirit Aura quartz, and she's like, oh, I've never seen that. And I knew I had a little one, so I was like, I'm gonna
Thank
gift
you.
her that. You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
I love it.
Oh, I like the texture of it. It feels
Yeah,
really cool.
even the color of it. It's just,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I love that.
But I'm happy for you guys. And, you know, I've been around the block a little bit longer, not too much longer, but a little bit longer than you guys. And I've always had your back. And I'll tell you, like, there's always going to be the good, the bad, the ugly with everything
Yes.
you do, especially when you choose, like, your life purpose, your sole purpose is to have a creative career. Same with me. Like, I could never go to school, back to school, and all of a sudden become a mathematician. Like,
Right.
that's just not me.
Yeah.
Or technical. You know, so when you know you're meant to be doing this and it feels good in your soul and it feels good in your gut, like, keep going in that direction.
Yeah, we didn't know we were getting into it first. Actually, Sam and Colby had kind of sat us down when we filmed with them, and they told us, they're like, are you ready for like what you're going to experience? You're going to experience great, you're going to experience really bad, you're going to experience
Yeah.
all in the middle. And we were like,
Sam and Colby are big on YouTube.
yes, they are.
yeah.
And they kind of sat us down. We were like, we don't really know what you're talking about, but yeah, sure. And we knew that there was going to be that going in. We didn't know it was going to be as big as it was going in. So I mean, even after the fact, like they would text us and they'd be like, how you doing? You know, checking in on us. We're like, this is a lot, you know.
Yes.
But you know, we have to stay. They gave us great advice. You have to stay neutral on everything. You have to understand where everybody's coming from, and you have to go forward that way. Just keep doing you. And we've been listening to that.
And that's a great way to handle things.
Yeah.
You know, because you will get it all. And
Yeah.
so, and you never know when people are like, especially if they're saying some bad things, you don't know what they're going through.
Absolutely,
You know?
and we don't want to argue. We don't want to fight. We just want people to believe what they want to believe, and everybody still, you know, be respectful of
That's
each
what I
other.
say, yeah.
My dad says the same thing. My dad, growing up, you know, being in the paranormal field for so many years,
Yeah.
my dad would tell me the same thing. He's like, just, you know, be respectful to everybody and their beliefs. Keep doing you, and that's all you can do. And that's what we're doing.
How many seasons did your dad have? Do you know?
2004.
This is the 20th year.
This has been 20 years.
20
since
years.
He's
So
been
20 years
doing
just on
stuff.
TV.
Yeah.
Never mind before that.
I think the show ended just shy of 20 years.
Yeah.
So, but he's doing YouTube right now.
Yes,
Yes,
and
he is.
YouTube has, what's his YouTube?
Jason Hawes, I
Oh,
believe,
okay,
on YouTube.
all right.
Yeah, so he made it
Everybody
easy.
subscribe to YouTube, right?
Yeah,
I'm so
check out
like
our
day
YouTube.
late, dollar short. I'm like, oh, everybody's on YouTube. I'm like, what about?
You should go on YouTube.
I am, but nobody follows me on YouTube.
I'll follow you on YouTube.
Yes, I'm Spirit Tip. Am I Spirit Tip on YouTube? Okay, I'm Spirit Tip on YouTube. I never know.
The voice behind the camera.
I
is
know.
Spirit Tip on YouTube.
My Spirit Tip on YouTube. Yes, this video, if you guys don't get to catch my podcast on Apple or Spotify, it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, very
Awesome.
neat.
Yeah, it's good. So I'm so glad that you guys were able to come in and connect. And how can people reach you?
You can reach us on our social medias, Satori Hawes on Instagram, Cody Desbiens on Instagram. I don't know if you can contact through YouTube, can you?
Well, you can leave a comment and we'll see it. But our museum page on Facebook is the Paranormal Couples Haunted Museum.
Which we got to start running up again.
Yep, and if you want to email us, it's just satoriandcody@gmail.com. And our website's paranormalcouple.com. It hasn't been updated in a little while. Kind of redoing all of that. Just type our names in and you'll find us eventually.
Talk about a major rebirth for you guys, though. Like it's just kind of like, oh, maybe we can do this. Like last year, I remember having conversations and it was like, well, maybe we can do this, or maybe we can take the museum on the road, or maybe we can, like there's so many things. And out of certain things, they always say when one door closes, another door opens, but it's true, like through everything that has transpired over the past year, it's totally motivated you guys, and you can see it because you guys are now owning it, where you're like, yes, now I have focus, now I know what I want.
Well,
and
thank you.
You're welcome. But it's just, I'm so happy to see you guys doing what you love, and you're your own boss, and that's the key, I'm telling you.
Now we are.
Being your own boss, and just, I know when you're like, oh, well, we got to work on this website and we got to work on that, like, oh, we got to figure out the paranormal couple, the here and there, like there's so many things, just it's all going to come together. It's already aligning the way that it needs to anyways.
Are you giving us a reading right now?
No, but I can.
I feel like and that gave me some confidence, so thank you.
Well, here's the thing. I will say, and I say this to all my friends too, because they're like, are you just saying that? And I'm like, no, literally everything that I say is it's based on being highly intuitive. So I see things, I hear things.
Well, good. I need all of it.
I know.
Girl, I need all of it. It'll make for an interesting story one day either way.
I'm going to have you read cards for me after. I'll be like, my love life. Tale as old as time. I know. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. I love you guys so much.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you again for joining us for another episode of my podcast, We Are Never Truly Alone. Check it out. Available on Apple and Spotify. Make sure you write your reviews. Let me know only if they're good.
You can write the bad. We're okay with it too. You can write the bad.
If they're bad, I don't want to hear it. But ultimately, yes, follow me, Spirit Tiff here on TikTok, Spirit Tiff on Instagram, Spirit Tiff on YouTube. Got to remember YouTube. And We Are Never Truly Alone is my podcast. You can find that also on Instagram, We Are Never Truly Alone podcast. We Are Never Truly Alone, available on Apple and Spotify. And you'll get to see the video on YouTube.
Write it down.
Yeah. Write it down, yes. So thank you guys so much, and have a happy Halloween.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Awesome.